So I look like complete shit, but whatever. Wanted to do a response to Broken Games HD. I think that's what his not gamer tag, fucking YouTube name is. Um, he made a video basically saying that multiplayer is the most important aspect of a game. A lot of ways I do agree with him, but I think he's wrong because it's not only just multiplayer that counts. I mean, there's a lot of games that come out with a really great multiplayer that are now irrelevant. Look at Driver San Francisco, for instance. It came out with some of the most interesting, like, cool-ass fucking destructive, awesome multiplayer in a car game that I've ever seen. Is it relevant online? Not really. Even Forza kicks the shit out of it. It's not relevant at all. And same with Homefront. Not relevant at all. Even though that had a way better multiplayer than single player, and honestly had better multiplayer than Crysis 2 and fucking Killzone 2. But, I mean, not Killzone 2, Killzone 3. Are any of the three of those games relevant, even though they do have pretty good multiplayer? All three of them have pretty good multiplayer. No, they're not relevant anymore. In fact, I went on Crysis 2 today, could barely find a game. Wanted to get my fucking 6-month achievement, didn't give it to me. Sucks. But the fact is that a lot of people look for good single player and good multiplayer, and if you can't provide both, and you can't provide it really, really well, people don't give a fuck. Relevancy depends on complete how awesome your game is all around. And that's why shit like Gears of War 3, even though it has an amazing multiplayer, that single player is what people play it for. Some people just play specific games for specific things. Blah, 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 blah. But you understand what I mean. Like, I play Gears only for multiplayer. I don't give a shit about the story. I'm an Act 2. I've been there since launch. I'll probably finish it eventually. I don't even know when I'm going to finish it. I don't really care if I ever finish it because the multiplayer is just that good. I don't care. But for the most people, it's the opposite. Everyone loves the campaign of Gears and they don't give a shit about this multiplayer. They don't care about it. In COD, I look for both multiplayer and single player. And since the multiplayer was basically unchanged in Modern Warfare 3, I don't give a fuck about it. After I play the single player, finish it up tonight, I only have like one mission left. I'm 6 hours in. That's not a good thing. I'm done with that fucking game. I don't really care. I'll probably make a couple of Intel achievement guides and that's it. I don't give a shit. That game is pure garb. And you know, games like these, even though their multiplayer is pretty good, people don't give a shit about that. Like Crysis, this is a single player only game, pretty much, because that's the only good thing about it. The multiplayer is a very poor Call of Duty ripoff with extra powers, and no one gives a shit. And you know, in the coming years, it's going to be really dependent that you have an amazing long single player campaign and an equally amazing multiplayer. That's why GTA 5 is probably going to take Kings. And next year is going to be a definite battle for that because you have Halo 4, you have fucking Max Payne, you have fucking Mass Effect 3. Like, all those games are probably going to have good multiplayer and single player. And that's going to be a very, very tough thing to accomplish if you just have one. I mean, you have to be an extremely long-ass, like, tons of shit to do in the game single player in order to compete with that, like Fallout or Skyrim. But when it comes to a game that has like a big giant multiplayer and a big giant single player like Grand Theft Auto, you really just can't compete. But you know, like I said, some people love the shitty single player campaigns and a lot of these terrible first person shooter single player campaigns. Like, honestly, I'm not a big fan of Reach's campaign. Didn't really find it fun. Only went through it once. Don't give a shit about the campaign. Love the multiplayer. Played the fuck out of it. I have like 600 hours in this fucking game. And that's what I care about in that game. But like I said, in Crysis 2, I played through that fucking campaign twice and on the second hardest difficulty and all that shit. And I only gave a shit about that. When I get Uncharted 3, I'm not even going to fucking touch the multiplayer because that fucking Subway beta was a piece of shit. Like, it's awful to me. It didn't feel good at all. Like, it didn't get me excited for it at all. All I want is that single player. That single player is all I give a shit about. And maybe the co-op. And that's about it. The fact is that people like certain games for certain specific things, man. That's why the Gears Online community is pretty fucking small. If I go right now, well, Modern Warfare 3 came out today, so that's not a really fair thing to say. But there's only 15,000 people on. There's only 18,000 people on Deathmatch. There's only 1,200 on Warzone. There's only 1,700 on fucking Execution. There's only 2,000 on Capture the Leader. 5,000 on King of the Hill, 1,000 on Wingman, and 2,000 on Alpha. And even if we go to shit like Horde mode, let's see how many Horde mode has. 7,000 people playing Horde mode. How about Beast? 1,000 people playing Beast. Now let's go to Campaign. And when you see the numbers for Campaign, it's going to be crazy, man. I'm going to look at it here right now. Join public. There are 44,000 people playing Gears of War 3 Campaign. Way more than any other mode on the fucking disc. And that's just what people play Gears for, man. They don't give a shit about the multiplayer. And that's the same way for a lot of different games, man. People, like 40% of the Call of Duty community have never even touched multiplayer, according to Activision. So what you got to keep in mind is that the market is not certain on certain things. Although we perceive it as gamers because we hop on Xbox Live and PSN every day and we see people playing, that's only us. A lot of people don't give a shit about multiplayer. Samuel out.